The basic form grouping, like we did in the previous video, works great when your form is quite static and it is known how many form controls will be present in some certain group. However, sometimes there are cases when you don't know how many fields will contain the group because they will be added and removed dynamically and they don't have some dedicated keys. For instance, we would like to allow users to add phone numbers to the form, but I cannot know upfront how many phone numbers the user might have. So I would like to create another button that will add and remove dynamically form controls. Additionally, I don't know the key names for that phones, and it is just an unknown amount of phone numbers, which makes an array like a bit more suitable data structure for that. For such cases, there is a special type of form group called form array, and let's create one in our form model right here. And the value of it is obviously an array. The main difference between the form group and this one is that form group serializes data into JavaScript object, when form array obviously into an array. This array can contain form control, form group, etc. But we start from something easy one and let's add a new form control instance as an initial value, and this control will be an empty string by default. Great. Now we should link this form array with some elements in the view, right? So I will create a separate field set right after the address group, and I'm going to give it the name like phones. And this field set will be actually the container for the form array. So let's use a form array name directive and link our form array in the form model with the template right here. Now we have to render a list of inputs and map them with the form controls inside the form array. Currently we have only one, right? So I create a new container for the form field, and I will iterate it via ng-for directive as many times as many form control instances have this form array. Now let's add a label for this control so users, can understand what this control means. And we need obviously some control like input with, I don't know, type maybe text and some placeholder message. Okay, and as a last touch, let's create a unique ID for this input and bind it with the for attribute in our label. So it will be a string like a phone where the suffix will be its index in the form array, and this index I can get just like that inside the ng-for. This index I will also use for mapping this input with certain form control instances inside the form array. We can do it using already the familiar directive called form control name, and this time we provide not a string but the index of the control, like that. Alright, now we should see the first results. And you can see that there was rendered a new section with the form field, and if I try to type some value to it, it will be reflected in the value of the form, and it is represented as an array. But as I told you, I would like to have some button here that allows users to add additional numbers and remove already added ones. So I will add an additional section between my form fields and the legend tag. And here inside I create a button with the type button, so it will not submit my form when I press it. This button will have a click listener, and there will be the following handler, which we should create here in the TypeScript file. And here we should get access to our fonts like that. And here you can have a few options on how to add a new control. You can use either the push method and add a new instance to the end of the fonts array, or you can use the method insert, which allows you to specify the index where this control should be added. If you need, you can provide some specific index depending on your logic, or you can provide a null to add this control at the beginning of this array. Now, if we save both files, we should see it working. So you can see when I click the button, there are additional controls added, so it works awesome. The only thing I don't like is CSS styles. I would like to make the button, smaller and add maybe some space between the form fields and the button itself. So let me get back and add some class to this button, and I will quickly place some styles in the component styles file. So for the add button class, I reduce the width and padding, and for the button container, I add some default margin to the bottom and move elements inside to the right side. So now it looks definitely nicer. All right. Now we should add some buttons to remove a certain font number, so let's do that. I will add a new button below the input with the minus sign. This button has also a click listener with some handler, and this handler will get an index of the control that needs to be eventually removed. Now let's implement the appropriate logic. So to remove the control from the form array, we should call a method called remove_add and provide the index of the control that needs to be actually removed. Okay, looks good. So let's test the logic, and oh, how ugly it is, but let's test if logic works, and the styles will fix in a minute. So I add additional fields, and when I click the minus button, they are removed. And it is also removed from the form value, as you can see right here. Fantastic. And basically, that is all regarding form array, and in the following minute I will be just, adjusting styles, so you can skip this part if you are not interested, but if you want, you can continue watching. So let's get back to the code. First of all, let's add a class to the remove button. Then I want to align the input with the remove button, so let's wrap it with some div element and add some classes and move them into this wrapper. Now, inside styles, I make the control container flex and align all elements here vertically by center, like that. For the remove button, I will do the following. I fix the width of it, then I remove all margins except the left one. Then I want to have a button background transparent, and the border color and the text will be red one. Okay, so let's check it now. Awesome, now it looks way better than before, and all our logic works without any problems, and values are being properly updated in the form. So let's quickly recap what we just learned. If you have a situation where some group of controls is better to describe using an array, then you can use form array class to build such a group and provide an initial array of controls right there. Likewise, the form group, you have to link it with the template by using the form array name directive. Then you can iterate through the array of controls in the form array in order to render the appropriate amount of form controls like input and map each input with an appropriate form control by using the form control name directive and providing the form control index as a value. If you need to add or remove some certain element from the form array instance, you can use methods exposed by form array like push or insert if you want to add the form control, or you can remove it by using the remove add method, and there you can specify the index of the form control that needs to be removed.